What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry I've been neglecting YouTube quite a bit. I'm in the middle of my final semester of my MBA degree, so it's been a bit hectic. I've got essays and exams due. I really wanted to talk about PSA and the PSA fallout and everything to do with it. I really wanted to give you guys my opinion on where they went wrong and what they should have done rather than the way that they've gone about things. So let's dive into it. So if you guys don't know, basically PSA have done away with all economy and lower tier submissions, and the cheapest submission you can now give is a $300 one, which is just absolutely insane if you're wanting to grade a card. I don't think many cards are worth grading at a 300 tier. Personally, I would just wait until that is completely gone away. I think it's absurd, and that's $300 without, the tax and the shipping and all that kind of stuff. It's been rather insane what has been happening. We've seen a couple blips with PSA in terms of them kind of stopping economy and you having to do a higher tier and you could only submit so many cards. So it's been rather interesting. And so I wanted to go over what the PSA spokesperson said. His name is Terry Melia, I believe. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And he went on to say that the records from PSA showed that Pokemon card submissions have steadily been increasing over the last 10 years, which is, no surprise. Over the last 3 years, I suspect it's been the majority of Pokemon cards coming in. And he said, for example, more than 1 million Pokemon cards were submitted to PSA for grading in 2020, and already in the first 3 months of 2021, they are on track to quadruple the amount this year. That is just an incredible statistic. He said the sheer volume of orders that PSA received in early March has fundamentally changed the ability to service the hobby. They also said that 30% of the total cards received at PSA were Pokemon cards, and comparatively, this time last year it was only 13%, so we've seen already an over 100% increase. I'm sure most of you guys know PSA's main audience, I would say, would be sports card collectors. If you type into eBay, sports cards, there are an abundance of different NBA, MLB, NFL, even soccer or football cards that are being collected and traded and everything, and I would say those were the most popular, but the rise in Pokemon has probably been the largest rise out of any TCG or just trading cards in general. For Pokemon to have 30% of the total market share, if you want, at PSA is mind-boggling, and obviously the huge craze from late 2020, early 2021 is highly contributed to that, and I suspect it will get even worse as we enter the true 25th anniversary, the promos, whatever special set they do come out with. I don't think Shining Fates or Shiny Star V was the 25th anniversary set. I think we will have a special one, and even Japanese sets such as the Eevee Heroes one is going to be a massive one for PSA to handle. PSA were obviously totally overwhelmed. 1 million cards to grade. Just think about it. The manpower, the man hours that would have to go in to grade 1 million cards, 1 million Pokemon cards, and then 70% more cards after that. If it's true what they're saying, quadrupling that amount for this year is just unbelievable. Now, we all know that PSA has expanded. PSA reinvested. They have new owners as well. They've expanded their area. They've hired a lot more graders and everything. With that has come some issues, I would say. I know from a lot of people, they have been saying that the cards that they used to send into PSA were rather strictly graded. It would be harder for them to get 9s and 10s. A lot of, especially, people are really annoyed about the off-center grade that they used to get. And now when you send things into PSA, the grades always seem to be conflicting. Some 10s look like 9s or 8s, some 9s or 8s look like 10s. Their scale seems to be all over the place, and that might be because of new graders. That might just be because graders are so flustered with the amount of cards they're having to grade. It could be a number of different issues, but what I've gathered from the general consensus of, forums and Instagram and YouTube videos is that PSA has really been fluctuating in the quality of their grading. But my main issue, I don't really care too much about the grading thing. That's a whole other problem. But my biggest problem and my biggest issue with this all is just the fact that PSA did absolutely nothing until it was too late to figure out this backlog. Now, I personally did not send any cards into PSA because I could not be bothered spending $1,000+ getting my cards, the cards that I wanted graded, and then not seeing that $1,000 returned in the form of graded cards for over a year. Now, I know people who sent them a long time ago, probably May, June time last year, and have only just received them. That's an absurd amount of time to wait for your cards to come back to you. Personally, PSA was mismanaged, misinformed. The logistics team and management team were totally wrong in everything that they did. Back in summer of 2020, it should hit you that, hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People are wanting to use their money on other things. Trading cards are seeing a huge boom. We're clearly seeing a massive amount of cards coming into our facility. We need to stem the amount of cards that are coming in. We need to ensure that people are getting their cards back fast. We need to ensure that we are keeping up with the quality that we're providing. And that just wasn't the case with PSA. And people were allowed to send in thousands upon thousands upon thousands of cards. I don't like to single him out, but Z&G Emporium, great YouTuber, he was sending in thousands of commons and uncommons and rares from base set and Team Rocket basically to resell as PSA cards. A great business to do, and he's made a fortune off of doing that. But in tow, that means that we've got a huge backlog of people sending in thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds and hundreds of cards. And that creates a huge backlog issue. If PSA were to say,
hey, you're only allowed to send in, maybe 5 to 10 cards.
Imagine the efficiency and the quality would have improved dramatically if that had happened. But it just didn't happen until it was too late. Now, some of you might be saying, well, hold on a minute. Do you know how much money PSA have probably made from this? And I totally agree. From a revenue point of view, I'm sure they have made a massive, massive amount of money. I'm kind of sad that they're not a publicly traded company. I would love to look into the finances. It would have been so fascinating to see that revenue. But at the same time, this has created a huge issue for PSA, something that I hope CGC and Beckett kind of adhere to and are warned about. There's kind of like a forewarning almost. With PSA making their lowest price tier $300, it's priced out the vast majority of people. It's priced out me for sure. Probably 90% of you watching this, unless you are really into Pokemon or collecting, or you have a huge excess amount of money that you can just splash on things, you're not going to be spending $300 per card to get it graded right now, when you can wait probably further down the line and wait for that price to be reduced. Now, the issue that PSA has here is that it is allowing its competitors to have a really good shot at impressing their past customers. For me, I was very, very close, again, to sending all my cards, those cards that I wanted, graded to CGC and Beckett. But again, it just became too expensive for me to do it at the moment with running my business and stuff. I didn't want to come into contact with cash flow problems, so I didn't. I laid off on it. But I know so many people who have decided, I'm not going to wait on PSA, I'm just going to go to Beckett, I'm going to go to CGC and get stuff graded. That has allowed CGC and Beckett to grab all of PSA's customers. If Beckett and CGC do a good enough job, that might be it. PSA might not be seeing those customers back again when you can go to CGC and you can go to Beckett and you can get subgrades, which are far better in my opinion compared to PSA. I think CGC and Beckett have an awesome, unique selling point that PSA does not have. The cool thing about Beckett and CGC again is, the black label or the gold label, gold writing, the pristines that you get in CGC are different to PSA. PSA 10 doesn't look any different to a PSA 9 apart from the number. With Beckett and CGC, it's very clear which ones are, the creme de la creme compared to like regular 10s or 9s. PSA are basically allowing their competitors to have a huge shift in the market share for them to catch up with all their grading. And I know CGC and I know Beckett have dwindled when it comes to their service times. It used to be 30 days. Now it's more like 90 days. Now it might be 120 days. But at the same time, that's still far faster than what PSA are doing, and they are allowing their competitors to do this. If I was in charge of PSA, hopefully one day, I would have said, you need to stem the flow of cards coming in. No way we can keep up with it. Now, I think it's kind of bit them in the they've said, okay, we're going to just put a huge charge on things so less people are sending their cards in while we catch up. But the adverse effect of that is that now you're allowing your competitors to basically have free reign of the market. So I do really worry for PSA in terms of that in the long run. In the short run, I'm sure they were looking at the cash that was coming in. They were making millions and millions and millions of dollars. But now I'm sure they are probably somewhat worried. Their competitors, CGC and Beckett, may take a larger share of the market, a year down the road. CGC is still very, very new. Beckett has always been great. They are my favorite out of the grading companies in terms of aesthetics of the graded card. I think it's a huge issue for PSA, and I would not be surprised if, they regret this further down the line. It's very easy for a company when you have millions of dollars coming in to kind of forget that, 5 years down the line, this may impact them because their market share is getting smaller and smaller. But again, that's just my own opinion. I really do think they should have stemmed the flow a long, long time ago. The warning signs, the red flags were there in March of 2020, when they said they had millions of cards coming in a year ago. And then it came to summer, and that's when the sirens were going off, the alarms were ringing, hey, we really need to do something about this. And then they still waited until the middle of winter to say, oh, we've probably got too much to handle here. We'll increase the price a little bit. And then, in March of 2021, nearly a year later, they're like, okay, we really need to do something about this. But that's just my opinion. I do think PSA were wrong, and it sucks that people are having to wait an incredibly long time to get their cards back, and that's what happens when it comes to demand. But you have to manage that demand, otherwise you're gonna be hurt further down the road. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with PSA. I do hope that they release their financials. It would be very, very interesting for us to all kind of dig through that and see, especially how much this is going to hurt them. I don't know if they've got a ton of cash kind of in reserve or whatnot, but it would definitely be very, very interesting to know. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree or agree with me. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with me. That's just how I feel about it. That's how I would run PSA if it was back in 2020. And it's very easy for me to say that, right? But I have been saying this for a long time. If you go back in my videos, I did say in a couple podcasts with Arbach, I believe, that, they needed to do something about this. And they just, a year later, they decide to do it. And it's too late. It's too late. So all eyes on CGC and Beckett. Let's see what they can do. This is their time to shine. This is their time to impress customers. There have been some bad press around CGC with grading cards that haven't been released and doing weird things on SM Pratt's forums or something like that. Some petty thing like that. So yeah, it'll be definitely very interesting to see. Maybe in 6 months' time, we can kind of revisit this and see what everyone's opinions are. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will do my best to get back onto YouTube a lot more. I've been slacking a lot, I know. So thank you so much. Hope to speak to you guys again soon. Thank you.